This is Max, and Max may potentially have a resource guarding issue. Now, he growls when he has things, and a growl is actually the antithesis of aggression. It's really a warning. Hey, back off. I'm uncomfortable with you approaching. It's normal for dogs to growl when they're eating and somebody approaches. Now, we can teach them not to do that, but it is not always aggression. Sometimes it's just a warning, just the same way if we're in a dressing room and somebody tries to open the door when we're half undressed, we would say, hey, stop, don't come in. Same sort of deal. Let's see if we'll get him to see if he's interested in this. Now, as you can see the shreds here, he likes peeling the tennis balls. Now, if he won't do this on, get into this, oh, I forgot, where's the other thing? Do you still have that thing in your hand? The little antler piece?
In that bin.
In the basket?
Yep.
All right.
Or the other basket.
The other basket. There we go, I see it right here. All right, buddy, you like this thing? This is a good antler. It looks like it's been chewed on pretty good. Yeah, I know you want the treats, but we're not gonna give you the treats right now. So basically, when a dog is doing a resource guarding, we'll see if he gets into one of these. What they typically do is they stand over it. If you come near them, and that's kind of, it can be really scary. Now, if a dog is resource guarding and you try to approach them when they have the item, they will bite you if it is a resource guarding situation. The mom told me that she can go over very confidently and take it from the dog, which tells me this is probably more of a warning, but I'm going to do this video just in case it is resource guarding. Now, if a dog has something and I snatch it away from the dog, I'm making the item more of a high value item. So actually, I'm going to make this a hybrid video. So the very first thing that I would suggest you do is make sure you teach your dog to drop. Now, if your dog has something like this is what we call a low value item. The dog is allowed to have it at any point. So if I just give it to the dog, he's not going to be as interested if I tease him a little bit and hopefully get him to take it. Not be interested to take it. Well, when he has the object in his mouth, what you want to do is have a high value training treat. Come here, Max. Let's go sideways so the camera can see you. And if he's got this in his mouth, I'm just going to hold this in front of his face. Now he's going to try to do what he's doing now and try to take it while the object's still in his mouth. I'm going to wait. I'm not giving him any direction. Once he realizes he can't take it with the item in his mouth, he'll spit it out. As soon as he does that, I would pop the treat in the mouth and say the word drop. You want to do this what we call low value items. He's allowed to have this at any point, so it's not particularly the forbidden fruit. If it's a shoe, well, that's something I really want. Now the family has chased the dog around when he steals things, and that will make it a game and make him want to do that in the future. So what we want to do is we want to practice this with low value items. Every time you get a new toy for him, he's got to have it in his mouth though. If he's holding it like this, chewing on it, we don't want to do it. Only when he's got it exclusively in his mouth, we just hold the high value treat here. As soon as he drops it, pop it in his mouth and say the word drop. Then he gets the item and we get to walk away. So this teaches the dog that I don't have to guard anything or I don't have to be protective of it. And matter of fact, if I have a shoe or something I'm not allowed to have and I drop it, there's a payoff, there's a benefit for that. So I'm more inclined to do that in the future. So I would always recommend practicing that unless you're very certain your dog has a resource guarding issue. Now when it comes to resource guarding, dogs can guard people, locations, and objects. Often it's food or a high value item like a bully stick or a rawhide or something like that. So what we want to do is teach the dog that when you have your stuff, what they're growling at is when you approach, they're saying, I think you might be here to take my stuff. And that's the dog saying, back off. Well, what we want to do is teach the dog that when a human approaches, they're not going to take your stuff. Matter of fact, they're going to make your situation better. So what I would do is, Sophia, I need you to be quiet, sweetheart, real quick. Just for a minute, you're distracting the dog. So basically, when the dog is really into something, don't do this unless they're into it first. And as soon as they're into it, then basically what we want to do is grab some high value treats. We want to approach from all sorts of different angles. We're just basically going to approach, and if the dog's resource guarding, it's not going to move around like he is now. He's going to be anchored. So I'm going to approach from this angle. I'm going to stop at whatever distance. So if you get to like 10 feet and he starts growling, then you know 10 foot is the buffer he wants you to keep. So I would walk away, and this time when I walk towards him, I would stop at 11 feet, 1 foot beyond his boundary. And then as soon as I stop at that distance, he's looking at me, I would toss the treat, and I would turn and walk away. So what we're saying is when the human approaches, they're not going to take your stuff. They're not even going to get close enough to take it. What they are going to do is they're going to offer you the tastiest treat you've ever had, and they're going to walk away. And if we do angle from this time, and then we walk around the couch, and we come and angle from that side, we're going to come from all sorts of different directions. The dog is used to us coming up from behind and front, and you're going to find that there's going to be different distances. You know, he might be more amicable of you approaching him if he can see you a little bit closer than if you're behind. He might growl if you get a little bit too close, or what, you know, the distances might be changed, and that's okay. The idea for this is not to push too far too fast, and that's the mistake most people make, is they push to the boundaries. Once your dog is reacting, growling, barking, biting, lunging, you push too far, and any work that you're doing at that point is not going to be worth anything. So the idea is to practice very short intervals and find out whatever that distance is that he growls at, and then stop 1 foot before that, and then practice at that distance over and over until he's comfortable with you at that foot. And after you practice, however many times, it's gonna be different for each dog. The next time you practice, when you practice, you might practice at 5 or 6 approaches, and then go away and then let him do his thing. And then later on when you come back, next time you do it, maybe at 10 feet, or you were at 11 feet the first time, maybe you try at 10 feet. Now he's not growling at 10 feet. So then we practice at 10 feet 4 or 5 times, then we stop, and we come back, and this time we do to 9 feet. Now if he starts growling, that means you moved too far too fast. So back up a step, and just keep on practicing that iteration. Some distances are gonna be a little bit closer than others. But eventually you get to the point where you can go all the way up to him, drop the treat, and then walk away, and he doesn't have that a negative. Matter of fact, he's like, when humans approach me, they make my situation better. They're not trying to take my stuff, so I don't have any reason to growl at them, because I like it when they approach me. It is a signifier of something getting better, crash, instead of a threat that they're going to steal my resource. Now, like I said, this is a process that's going to take some time, so don't go too fast, and do it in different areas of the house. If you notice he's only growly when he has a certain type of object in a certain location, he might be doing a double. He might be protecting the object and be protecting the location. So whenever that's the case, I always try to separate it, so we're working on just the location first or just the object first. So if it's location and object, I might go in a different room and close the door so he can't get to the area that he's guarding, and just desensitize him for the tennis ball or the bully stick or the antler or whatever it is. Maxwell. Let's get a little bit better camera presence for you. Sit. He's a very smart dog. I think he's nervous for a lot of other reasons we talked about off camera, but and the insecurity is not necessarily related to the resource guarding. You have a very well-trained, very well-behaved dog that is a resource guarder. But the fact that mom can take the object tells me this is probably more of a, this is mine, I want you to leave me alone, I want you to back off. We don't want anybody to get hurt, so we might want to do practice the approach, but I think the better thing to do to start off with is practice having low-value items and shaping a drop behavior. Then later on, when he asks something, you just say drop, the dog's like, I'll spit it out before you even finish the P in the word drop so I can get my reward. And now we've trained the dog that giving something up for us is beneficial. We don't have to worry about it growling or pulling it away from the dog. These are some tips and tricks that you can do to teach your dog to drop, and if your dog is a resource guarder.